This is the 6th of November, 1988. Now we bring to you Mark Barber. Take it again.
How I got to Friends World College. Like Jeremy in a physical prep school, and slated to go to Cal. And a friend of mine in my class, no, his brother was going through Canada, and in some town in Canada, went to a park, and in the middle of the park, on a park bench, was a man who had in his pocket a reprint from a Mademoiselle article about Friends World.
Oh, that's the one that we're in.
So is your photo? That was the ad.
Yeah.
We did it. We were the matching.
Oh,
That's how I ended up at Friends World.
It was December 8, 1986.
Oh, so you turned on the music and wound up at Mitchell Gardens.
You started in 68?
I started in 68. I was living in the same building as Jeffrey, and Jeremy was in there, and John Stark, and Jimi Hendrix. So, and I remember Hawks Hill, the trip to Hawks Hill, and camping out in the intense fall.
Hawks Hill, was that the street farm?
That was
In
in
Vermont.
in Vermont.
Yeah, there were 3 of us that went skinny dipping.
Yeah.
Oh, we didn't stay in long, I'll tell you.
I can imagine.
Jumped in and jumped out.
We jumped out, and Deb Inch and Phyllis and somebody else had a fire going, and we just stood there in the birthday suits warming up for a fire.
Were you in the college 4 years?
I think so, approximately. I think I dropped out at one point. I had a hard winter where I had infectious hepatitis and chicken pox and just one thing after another, so I dropped out for a little while. But I started out in New York, went down to Mexico, Morelia, and I was in the class or the group that got deported with Tom Ewell and Melissa.
How did they get deported?
The center had been warned, actually. Ron Bergman had been picked up and detained for a day and came back with a message that the center was supposed to get out of Morelia. Sidney Harmon came down. We had a 20-hour meeting or something like that, and said we have to get out. He said let's stall and all of that. And just a few days after he did that, Tom Ewell and Melissa and I were in a restaurant. We had just ordered dinner. Some people came in and said that they had caught somebody trying to break into Tom's car. Would we come out and press charges at the police station? So we said sure, and we went down there, and we first knew something was going wrong when they let him go and thanked him and gave him a little money and we were in there. So we stayed for about 3 days in the jail there, and then went to Mexico City. No charges. There were no charges. Fred Rubin was already there. Bob Morton had been picked up. Well, we slept on pieces of cardboard on a floor and stuff, and we didn't know what was going on. So then they took us to Mexico City. First they took us to the center. We thought we were being released, and then they put us in another car, told us we were being released. What's that?
They picked up Ron too, but he offered them his lunch.
Yeah, we had no idea what was going on and whether we were going to be there for 2 days or 30 years. So then finally, after a couple nights in the Mexico City jail, they just drove us out to the airport to the bottom of the tank, and up we got onto a plane and were shipped off and landed in Texas with nothing, no possessions.
The same clothes you've been wearing a week before.
Several days, yeah. After that, the center got the message and hastily packed everything up and left Morelia. He went to Mexico City. Went back, and then the next semester I went to Africa, and I built a treehouse down in the river garden in Kaptigat.
I remember the treehouse. I remember the
I was in
treehouse.
number 4.
Yeah,
Joel
not Joel.
was the director, but actually we took the study trip all around Kenya and Tanzania. Had an adventure with a boat wreck at Lake Baringo. We went out in a boat, and the motor conked out, and we were in a storm, and night came on, and the boat sank, and we got to the shore just as it was sinking. A man jumped out of a bus as Judy Herbert was passing the bus, and he just jumped right in front of the microbus and was killed. It was really tough on all of us, but especially Judy. There was a taxi driver there, and he and I put his body into the thing and took it to the hospital, but he was dead. After Africa, Fred Rubin and I went out to Amsterdam and settled in Amsterdam and traveled around Europe for a semester. And I was doing a project on schools, so I visited lots of schools and departments of education for countries, and then we saw Europe, and then came back, and that's when I took some time out, and then after that I went to Japan and spent over a year in Japan, in Kyoto.
The school was in Kyoto.
The school was in Kyoto, and Nicola was the director at that point. I liked Japan. I was ready to stay. I came back because my student deferment ran out, and I wanted to go ago in his alternative service, started working for an alternative school in San Mateo, and did that for a couple of years, and then never
What's happened since, Mark?
Well, I worked for, I taught for several years, first at this alternative school and then at different kinds of, down in Carmel, and worked with kids in a couple of different kinds of situations, and then decided to go back to school, decided I didn't want to teach, went back to for a master's, ended up becoming a suit. I was working down in the financial district in San Francisco at Wells Fargo, designing management training programs, and didn't really like that, and but got married during that time, and we decided that before we started a family, we wanted to move out of the city. My wife was working as a nurse in the city, so I had been on the board of directors of this Episcopal Camp Conference Center up in Sonoma County called St. Dorothy's, and they needed a director, so I resigned from the board and applied for the job, and I've been there for almost 6 years running that, and then for the past year, a little over a year, I've also been running another Episcopal retreat and conference center just outside of Healdsburg called Bishop's Ranch. Keeps me busy, yeah.
As is Mark's ability to smooth over the greatness. He's taken this place called St. Dorothy, which was a lost leader, and turned it into a major profit center. Turned it around, and he's an all-star.
So, oh right, and I have two boys. Simon is in kindergarten, and Luke turns 2 this month. It all, but I can't see myself doing anything else at this point.
Having a good time?
Yeah, I enjoy it, and I'm starting to free up some time to do